Hey, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. This is my review and Easter eggs video for the very first ever episode of Viacom CBS's new Star Trek show, Star Trek Prodigy. That's right, we're talking about Season 1, Episode 1, Lost and Found. And the big question is it good? Before we do get into that though, I have a few side notes. First of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The way I do these reviews and Easter egg videos is usually by first talking about my thoughts, my opinions. I go over what I thought about the episode, what I would have perhaps changed, what I enjoyed, what I thought was well executed, and what wasn't. That's right, there is fair criticism going on here. Then we go into the Easter eggs and references segment where I talk about all of the, well, you guessed it, Easter eggs and references that I could find to other iterations of Star Trek or pop culture in general. Now recently I did ask a question to my current subscribers and to everyone that's been around for a while. I asked if I should actually carry on doing the Easter eggs, and look, first of all, thank you all so much for your overwhelmingly positive responses and helpful comments. Second, I have decided to continue the videos as they are and simply take the time I need to do so. Yeah, that's right, a lot of you guys said that the Easter eggs are a big part of why you enjoy my videos. It helps older fans and newer fans alike have a better appreciation of the episodes, considering, some Easter eggs and some things that I point out or that others point out online actually help better understand what's going on at any given moment. The last thing I want to talk about is baby on the tube, or toddler on the tube at this point. My daughter is 3, and considering Star Trek Prodigy is at least marketed as a show for kids, granted she might be a little young, I don't know if she's in the bracket that they're talking about, but I wanted to take the time in these Star Trek Prodigy reviews and videos to actually add a little segment where I talk about her initial reactions. Of course she can't review anything, she's 3, but she does have reactions that I'm watching as we watch the episodes together, so I thought that could add a little something interesting to these reviews. And the last thing that I want to talk about is probably something that you've already noticed. I have a new phone. Now, I don't have a new camera, but I have a new phone. My phone was getting really old. It would die immediately once it hit 15%. Like, once you hit that 15%, it's over, baby. You're gone. You've lost the phone. But now I have a new phone, and I'm filming with my new phone now rather than filming with my old phone. You guys tell me if it looks better. If it doesn't, I can just use the old phone as a camera while I wait to get enough, to buy an actual camera. But I'm hoping that, new phones should mean better video. So anyway, you tell me what you think about it. Is the video better? Is it not? Leave a comment. Alright, let's get into it. What's it called? Lost and Found. What did I think? Honestly, it was a solid enough first episode. Like, it did a good job at setting up everything it needed to set up. Plot-wise, it also did a good job at introducing its characters and developing certain backstories that were essential to this specific episode's story. It set the tone, or rather the seemingly multiple tones we're going to be juggling as the show progresses. The episode also went all out when it came to the visuals and score, really showcasing a wide variety of settings and styles, from ships to landscapes. And musically speaking, we also got some more emotional movements, but also some action-oriented pieces. Overall, it was a very functional spectacle. Not to mention the voice acting was good, and a lot of the art design is quite beautiful. Unique? No, but creative? Yeah, why not? Even if nothing on screen so far has been something we've never seen before in television. Like, even Zero, the character which design I praised back when those trailers came out, ended up resembling Hugh from Final Space at times, which was kind of disappointing. I will say though, that lack of uniqueness aside, the character design for this guy, for example, before he goes all mechanical spider, is amazing. Part General Grievous, part Ultron, I loved him. The real problem with the episode, in my opinion, was the pacing. Clocking in at a 45 minutes, this thing is a beast of a watch. And I mean, although they had a lot of story to deliver, and at no point the episode felt padded, I still feel it was a bit too long. Like 35 minutes, that would have been fine. Because yeah, there were a couple moments where things dragged on just a little. Other than that, I admit that the story did set up the intrigue quite well, in the sense that I'm already very curious about who certain characters are, what they want, also how on earth did that Starfleet ship find itself there in the first place. And look, I know traditional Star Trek episodes, or rather episodes of the 90s, were about 45 minutes. The original series had like 50-minute episodes. The pilots from the Berman era were like 90 minutes. It's insane. There were two 45 minutes episodes stuck together. So why am I complaining about this 45-minute long runtime? Well, I mean, first of all, I wasn't really expecting it. Second, I don't think it's really appropriate for the format they're going for. They're going for a kids show, an animated show. I don't think 45 minutes is necessary. Anyway, the writing was honestly pretty solid, especially when it came to the dialogue, because, I mean, when the villains are talking, there's a true menacing weight to what they're saying, but when the heroes speak, or holographic Janeway, it almost feels as if the dialogue is purposely written in a very clear, comprehensive way, which I'm sure is the case. I just think that the final result ends up being very good. I mean, it is for kids, right? Yeah, it's just that runtime. Almost as if the Hageman brothers got a bit overindulgent, you know? They were having so much fun writing that they just said, yeah, you know, let's double it. From a character side of things, I liked them all except the Tellarite. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the voice acting for him, and I wasn't a fan of the overall in-your-faceness of the guy. It felt a bit much. That being said, there's still plenty of room for the character to grow and change, and when it comes to Jason Mantzoukas' voice acting, maybe he's just getting the feel of things at the moment, because, you know, he's a pretty solid voice actor. The other characters were fun. Murph, of course, is a fan favorite. Dal seems to be more important than he lets on. Gwyn feels a lot like a Nebula or Gamora type character from the MCU, based off of the relationship that she has with the big bad guy, which is her father. Rock Tank is pretty much exactly the character I was expecting. And Zero. It's Zero that surprised me the most, actually, because the character is seemingly turning out to almost be a kind of motherly figure for this group of teens and kids, which is a position I thought would be filled by Janeway, but perhaps not. Shout out to Angus, by the way, because his voice acting for Zero, oh my goodness, total MVP. That voice work was phenomenal. The intonations, the cadence, the pitch, just wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I guess the last big thing to address is the animation itself. Now, the art style they chose, I can't really address, because ultimately it's going to be a very subjective thing. Right? Either you like the style they went with, either you don't. I'm not the biggest fan personally, but then I don't think that hyper-realistic backgrounds and elements juxtaposed with cartoonish exaggerated features on characters is something that is very easy to pull off in the first place. I mean, at least this thing doesn't look like Marvel's What If, dear God. Anyway, here I feel like it's pleasing to look at sometimes, and sometimes it's not. But as I said, that's subjective. This all comes down to taste. Maybe you like the aesthetics more than I did. The second element that has to do with the visuals, but that doesn't come down to taste, is the quality of the animation, which overall is good, but at certain times does have a little jankiness to it. Like, there's a couple scenes where Dahl is running that seem really, really video game-like. It gave me this cheapo cutscene effect. Almost as if the rigging, you know, wasn't quite right. Or I don't know, there wasn't enough connectivity between Dahl's feet and the surface on which he was running. Then, of course, this texture, for example, is, I mean, not good, to say the least. Honestly, it pretty much looks like Toy Story 2, you know, when Buzz is on the planet in the beginning in the video game. So yeah, it's good for the early 2000s, but not good for now. And then there's Janeway. When she's speaking at the end of the episode, yeah, no, the mouth didn't match the dialogue at all. So, I mean, yeah, there's a few issues. It isn't flawless, but overall, it is still good and pretty impressive we're getting this level of quality for TV shows nowadays. Regardless of how I feel about the art style itself, I do want to take a couple seconds to acknowledge the absolutely stunning cinematography, because the work that was put into, you know, the shot composition, the colors, the way everything was framed was absolutely, you know, just mind-blowingly good. Because, goddamn, were there a lot of shots that looked stunning. My conclusion would be that Lost and Found is by no means a bad episode. On the contrary, it's effective in more ways than one. It serves its purpose as pilot undeniably well, but at the end of the day, it's not a standout episode of television or even Star Trek. I mean, thematically speaking, conceptually speaking, it kind of gets lost in a very busy sea of currently existing science fiction shows, and ultimately ends up just feeling like a nice episode that someone could describe as, oh yeah, I remember that. It was pretty cool. 2 or 3 years down the road. So yeah, it's alright. It's alright. Look, I know this all sounds very harsh, but please do keep in mind, Star Trek isn't exactly renowned for its flawless and impeccable pilots. Usually Star Trek starts off pretty goddamn weak. And I think this is a pretty solid pilot. I would put this on a good side rather than a bad side when it comes to Star Trek pilots. And I mean, ultimately, this just means that the show has room to grow. Now, to go over Baby on the Tube's reaction for just a second, she's currently 3, as I said earlier, and actually quite enjoyed the watch. For a moment there, she got so into it that we couldn't even pause it for a second while wife left the room. Tonally speaking, she understood who was the villain and knew exactly when someone bad was going to appear. I mean, this is based on the lighting and music cues. She did hit a hard I'm over it moment at the 30-minute mark. Like, she became disinterested at that moment. Admittedly, when it's all action, phases and explosions, she doesn't really like that. She doesn't really stay tuned in. But we gave her a couple chips to distract her, and once she got munching away, she finished the last 15 minutes, no problem. Absolutely loving the end credit visuals and music. Now, as an outside observer, I can say that her 30-minute cutoff was indeed a pretty clear sign that the episode was too long, especially for younger kids. And although she quite intently sat through the dialogue-heavy moments, I think more colorful, musical, scenic shots could have helped her like it even more. My final word as a parent for this pilot, I guess, would be, although no parental guidance was needed, there's nothing inappropriate ever happening on screen, I do think it was a little complex for someone as young as 3. And maybe that's on me. Maybe she's not supposed to be watching it so young. Wife on the Tube would also like to add that the second part of the episode, like the second half of the episode, was actually better adapted for kids due to there being clearer lighting and I guess more colorful colors. They popped a little more. The first half was kind of gritty, taking place in the mines there. It wasn't as adapted. So yeah, those are the parents' opinions. And those are my opinions, my thoughts. Those are the reactions from Baby on the Tube or Toddler on the Tube, however you want to call her. It is now time to move on to the Easter eggs and references part of the video. Starting with Zero. Zero is a non-corporeal being known as a Medusan. They were first introduced in the original series, and as specified in this episode of Prodigy, corporeal beings seeing them with their own eyes risk going mad. That's why Zero is wearing a specialized containment unit. This other containment unit seen in that flashback, by the way, is exactly the same in design as the one seen in the original series. Jankum Pog is a Tellarite, another species first introduced in the original series. This is a Kazon, a species featured heavily in the first season of Voyager. Keep in mind both Voyager and Prodigy take place in the Delta Quadrant. This is undeniably a Kazon ship based on the design philosophy. These cargo crates are all inspired by ones seen before in 90s Trek. This appears to be a Cation, first seen in the animated series. We also have a Cation Doctor in Lower Decks. This guy is a Lurian. There's another one or two in this episode. I don't know if it's the same one or different ones. I don't know. The most famous Lurian is Morn from Deep Space Nine, but we also got some in Discovery recently. This is a holographic version of Janeway, the famous captain from Voyager. As indicated by this panel, the ship is apparently equipped with a transwarp drive. We've heard about that in Voyager also. Another thing taken from Voyager is the Window of Dreams they talk about. It's a place we got to visit once in one episode. This is Klingon or Klingonese script. And finally, just a couple meta things. Not only does this episode open with a Starfleet Delta shining in the crystals, but we also get a few familiar notes from the iconic Star Trek theme, and this line of dialogue, as indicated by one of the creatives on Twitter, was intended to mirror this line from the original series. And there you go. Those were my thoughts, my opinions. Those are all the Easter eggs that I could find. I have rewatched the episode multiple times, and I actually watched it more than I thought I would. Not because, you know, it's my favorite thing ever, but because I was very surprised there were this few Easter eggs. I was really expecting more, so thank God for that. My sanity is safe. Like, subscribe, comment, tell me what you think about the video quality, tell me what you think about the episode if you've seen it, tell me what your kids thought about the episode if they've seen it. I'd like to get like an age range, actually. That would be interesting for the interest of this show. Alright, a big thanks to the channel patrons. You are the best, and as usual, live long and prosper.